Interesting, joining us on set now. Daryl, the mixed population is increasing.
Yes.
And that is an interesting couple, and they are as mixed as you can get.
That's
different
right,
cultures, different countries, different societies, and they're both mixed themselves.
Yes.
And religion is a clear distinction, and we want to just share with that story to kind of bring our discussion into context.
Yeah.
What is a mixed couple? Let's first start.
All right, well, good morning, Trianda Vigo. Good morning, Hema. Let me just state something categorically, as they like to say. You will see some of my personal bias coming out in what I have to say, because I am opposed completely to all forms of discrimination, whether it be racism, classism, sexism, religion, etc., etc. All right? So when we talk, normally about a mixed couple, we are speaking about two persons from different ethnic backgrounds, usually. All right? So one person is of one race, as we say, another person a different race. You put them together and we label them a mixed couple.
Okay, now the mixed population is on the rise.
Yes.
So obviously people are finding, kind of gravitating to different ethnicities, people with different, and she said that. And interesting in that clip, he said, well, we're extremely different. They come from different societies, but different religious values. And he said it's good, it balances them up.
Yes.
But then some people will say, and I've always said, the things that attract people to me in the beginning, they hate in the end. The independence on the vocal and all of that. But let's talk about that. What attracts them? Is it the difference?
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, you see, they've been able to overcome the barriers, some of the barriers that socialization, and I'll explain what I mean by that, places upon some people. Now, by socialization, what I'm talking about, the persons who distinguish people based upon race, that is really a trait that is not inherited but taught, Because if you see two little toddlers playing together, they don't care who's black and who's white and who's brown. They just play together, all right? So somewhere along the line, some children learn to make a distinction between persons based upon how they look, the texture of their hair, etc., etc. These people have been able to overcome whatever socialization that they received during their developmental years and see each other for who they actually are.
So they're a unique couple, but they made an interesting point that society still judges them. So, because she said she's not reminded that she's mixed unless she's out in the public domain.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Do as a society, we're in such a mixed population, do people still frown when they see a mixed couple? Why is that happening?
Some people do. Okay, it is human nature to seek comfort in the familiar, okay? And that can extend all the way to if I see, let's say, two diverse groups of people and one group of people looks more like me. When I look into the mirror and when I look at them, there's more familiarity. There's a natural sort of an instinct to gravitate more towards that group. And as I said, that's a sort of a human instinct to seek comfort in what is familiar, all right? Even though there's been a lot of mixing in our population, and I mean over the generations, it is still very much a work in progress.
Why is that? And what are some of the challenges that mixed couples face? Because making a relationship work is hard enough. Yeah. When you throw two people together who obviously come from different backgrounds and specifically different ethnic backgrounds, what are some of the challenges that they encounter? Yeah.
You see, a lot of people don't want to let go of stereotypes and of as I said, discriminatory ideas and discriminatory thoughts that they have been taught, that they've inherited throughout their lives. Ignorance has a key part to play in that, because you find the majority of times that, and research has shown this, that when you mix different groups of people together and they actually get to know each other, that a lot of the discriminatory ideas, a lot of the stigmatization disappears, because they get to see the person for who they actually are. Now, a lot of people in our society still remain, even though you could say we're a melting pot, it's a melting pot that hasn't been completely stirred up. So there's still some sections of the pot that remain within their little comfort zone and within their little comfort zone, and they don't necessarily make the effort to get out of that comfort zone.
I have a lot of friends who are in mixed relationships, and they hide that from their parents still. Why is that?
Because their parents wouldn't approve of it. And not because the parents...
But we're in 2013.
You would think that people would know better than that, all right? But not everybody finds it easy to accept change and to let go of things. You see, what you're taught from small, you tend to hold on to those things and to hold them very dearly. And if you're taught from small that these kinds of people are good, these kinds of people are not so good, these kinds of people, you want to hang out with them because they're better. Those kinds of lessons are hard to get out of your system.
What are some of the typical challenges that mixed couples face, and how do they overcome it?
Right. Okay, well, I mean, in Trinidad and Tobago, you know, we have a society where what we call picong, all right, is really very, very well used and sometimes overused. So people don't feel any sort of a shame to label somebody, to label a couple, to call people by how they look, you know, by obvious things. Whereas in other countries, people might see it, but they might not say it. In Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have that problem. So they have to face a lot of picong, a lot of heckling, maybe, from some people, labeling.
What do you think is resulting in this increase in mixed relationships?
I think people are just growing up. I think people are just getting wiser and smarter and realizing that this whole race thing, like other forms of discrimination, is really just nonsense, perpetuated by people who've been trying to get some sort of an advantage based upon, you know, differences that we have no control over.
But let's look at the extreme examples. And we looked at that couple. They are both, so she is, they're extremely different.
Yeah.
Do you think problems are exaggerated when it's a mixed couple?
When you say exaggerated, I mean
okay, so you have to get accustomed to my, as it is in a relationship. So let's say two people who are similar background, similar social standing, similar cultural values, similar religion.
Yes.
You still have your issues. You still have getting accustomed to that person. But if I am, let's say, in a mixed relationship and the person is accustomed to a different religion and they're accustomed to a different lifestyle, do you think it's exaggerated when they're a mixed couple, and how do they overcome that? What are some of the common problems they face?
It can, but here's the thing. People usually come together because of what they have in common, huh? Okay, what they have in common plus ways that they balance off each other. So
we heard that term, and what does that mean?
Yeah, you hear this saying, opposites attract. Okay, what that means
I don't believe in that anymore, but okay.
I'll give you an example of what that means, right? I'm very reserved, I'm very quiet, okay? There are times when I wish I could speak out more, but I just don't feel comfortable doing it. And I meet this wonderful lady, and she's all out there, she speaks out, and she's, you know, alive and in the middle of things, and I'm thinking like, wow, you know, that's really an admirable trait, right? And I become intrigued and interested in her because she has something that I don't have. And in a sense, when we hook up, that trait helps to complete me.
Is a mixed couple still a taboo topic in our country?
I think it is to some extent, but I think it's becoming less and less taboo as we go forward. When I look at, you know what, this is one time when, you know, looking at the younger generation, the teenagers and even the preteens, this is one time when looking at them, you see a lot of positive signs and things that my generation and generations before didn't have. They don't seem to care too much about that kind of thing anymore. Huh?
What advice do you have for mixed couples out there?
At the end of the day, your relationship is your relationship. And if you being with this individual makes you happy, then you make that relationship work. It's your business, it's not anybody else's business. I
know in the second part of that series, they speak about whose values, because obviously the first part of the relationship, it's a nice part, the fairy tale part. But the reality is, coming down in a relationship, somebody's values must dominate someone. If you come, let's say, from a traditional East Indian home and a traditional African home, they're superseding values. Whose values dominate?
There is this, there's a process that all couples go through where they negotiate the terms and conditions of their relationship. Now, it's not an actual negotiation, but it happens. And part of the negotiation is that whole thing about values and what values will be accepted. How will the children be raised? If there's a question of religion, which religion will the children be raised in?
Right.
Those are questions that each couple evaluates separately. So you can't say that, you know, there's one blanket way that, you know, all couples do it. I think it's an individual thing for each couple.
Now, when Daryl comes back next week, we're going to share the second part of that interview where they speak about their children and how they determine whose values dominate. And he'll give us some tips as to what do you do when you move forward, and also how does society judge you. Remember, you're your own individual, your choices. Really, it's your personal happiness. No matter what your relationship in, or what type of relationship you're in, make a decision. Make yourself happy.
That's right.
Happiness is what we all hope for to get somehow. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, Tech Thursday, we're going to tell you the latest that's happening with B-Mobile. Stay with us.